sciences, computational life sciences are becoming the reality.
I saw those birds over there.
The largest growing
They were
available data
walking about the level where that
health sciences,
snow is.
Genome sequences,
I thought it was a person out there walking.
The things that
doop,
we
doop,
had
doop, and they're looking
never
up there and saw
taught
the birds.
before, and data science in that
Okay.
area with AI could be extremely beneficial.
You know, when I work with people who are younger than me, which I
Anything I
often
do for you?
I find that when it comes to technology, they're usually better than I am, and probably the people younger than them will be better than they are. What do you find in terms of how your students at the university look at the kinds of things you're doing? Do you learn from your students about the research that you're doing?
Oh my goodness. Every day I learn a new algorithm, a new tool that my students bring to me. I'm constantly amazed and I'm constantly happy to have the next generation that is extremely savvy with the tools.
Where are you going to pay for that?
Where does the funding come from for what you do?
Okay.
Until you start loading a cart full of shit. And I was like, well, I guess you're paying for it.
National Institute of Health.
I wanted to pay for it.
Because all I wanted to go in there for was for soda, and I would have covered a couple of things that you wanted at first.
Either Purdue University, Purdue Institute for
I realize that's quite a bit anyway.
A lot of research across different.
I buy foreign food now, so when I buy stuff for us, I also buy stuff for the cats.
Dog patients with bladder cancer. But National Institute
So the cats, you know, have treats and stuff. I wasn't gonna buy chicken, but the eggs are good enough.
Tie this back to the geographic middle.
Save $75 bucks. Would have been $300.
Be in the middle of Indiana doing this.
$75.11, right?
Fascinating.
Over savings, yeah.
Well, that's a good deal. Hey, that's a hell of a deal. That's something over there at the. Tell me what you want off of that thing over there. Things that you like that you bought. I'll buy them when I go shopping. Because I'm going to buy a guitar. I want to pay my bill first, and then I want to try to pay the other Sara card.
Majid Kazemian,
it was a handy card to have.
Biochemistry at Purdue University in Indiana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, nice.
Thank you very much for having me.
Huh?
In a moment, we'll go to Washington University.
$2.10 on each one of those pizzas.
Those what?
Each one of the pizzas.
Used in a lot more than birthday balloons.
Wow.
We only paid $3 for them.
That's a hell of a deal.
Well, I get a 10% discount because they're City Market brand. Plus, they were $1 off because we bought 5 or more.
Don't go anywhere. There's more ahead on the middle.
Plus, there's fit on sale for 50 cents off.
I can't believe we got everything in those freezers.
Save $3 on all the ice cream. Every single one of them. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, $18 just on ice cream. Say.
Well, my joke about the pregnant lady and ice cream. How much ice cream did pregnant lady eat?
Wow, even your Ritz was $1.30 off.
Ritz. Oh, my crackers.
Your chips, yeah. They're $3.49 minus $1.30.
I cleaned out the refrigerator about 2 weeks ago. Cleaned it all up and everything.
Well, Hot Pockets went on sale. Bummer. 15.
I cleaned out the freezer today. There wasn't much stuff in it when I cleaned it out yesterday, but it was nice to know, wow, I got to clean. I think I could put a dozen things of ice cream in here. No, it only held 9. I had to rearrange all that stuff up on top. They got creative and it worked.
What was it, salmon? I thought it was like slimy cracked pepper. What? It's salmon, S-L-M-N.
Well, I didn't want to try the sweet bourbon. I figured this was the last thing I need to do is start drinking again.
It doesn't have alcohol in it.
Huh?
When you cook with alcohol, it cooks the alcohol out. It's just flavor.
But if it has a taste that I like, I'm going to want to drink it.
This is The Middle. I'm Jeremy Hobson. If you're just tuning in, The Middle is usually a national call-in show focused on elevating voices from the middle.
Our family had a problem with alcoholism.
Philosophically, or maybe you just want to meet in the middle.
I know you mentioned
this hour, we're taking a break
Mom
from
told me about
Washington
that.
politics to focus instead
So I don't want to get started again.
Scientific research that's being done in the geographic middle of the country.
Besides, before I didn't have enough money to drink myself to death, but I tried to.
They said 30%.
Yes, helium, which is used for a lot more.
I was at my cousin's house and I did what the cat did and slept on the plant. Debbie wanted to record it. Derek was, can't you hold your alcohol? And the neighbor that cleaned up the mess after I threw up on the stairs, got sick that night. And she said, you know, as many times as Derek's been up here, down here, I'm really pissed off at me. She goes, you can live with me if you want to. I was like, no, I'm going to go back home to my parents' house. I'll go drink it. She goes, you should. So I went in there and started talking about my kids and stuff and everything. She goes, no, what about you drink?
Helium as kind of a sustaining chemical, a sustaining
Did you tell
liquid.
anybody else this story? I said, no.
When it's in its
Nobody
liquid
else
form,
knows.
it's extremely cold.
Why are you telling
and
me?
It allows
Because I like
us
you.
to cool materials that then
So I like you too. You can stay. I
things
said,
like
no, I
MRI
won't even charge you.
And so in the absence of helium, we would
No, I
have
wanna
a
go
big
home.
challenge about having MRI imaging, you know,
She's
magnetic
a
resonance
pretty,
imaging for
pretty
medical
blonde girl.
applications. A number of us in science use it. There are machines that are cousins of those MRI imaging machines in every research chemistry department across the United States, in industries. So yeah, it's a really important thing for us.
In space exploration too.
Yeah, so that's one that you wouldn't expect. When you see those rockets or flying into the air to deliver a satellite, a GPS unit or something like that, basically those rocket engines, which are generically called lifting applications, those have hydrogen and
I'm really
oxygen.
surprised we got
and
everything in
also
there. That was really nice.
fuels that burn
Didn't
and
have to put
combust
anything
to form
outside.
that flame.
You know what? Even
But
if
it
it's
turns out
outside, we
helium
probably
is at
didn't
the
even have to turn on
top of that engine to
the freezer.
push those
I mean, it
gases
was going to
out.
stay
And
cold
so
with this weather.
Today, rocket engines really require that.
Probably by the
helium
time
also.
we
So
ate-
lifting
we ate
applications
it.
are another big area.
So helium is not renewable. Are we in a shortage?
Yeah,
or
but
are we
leaving it
at risk
outside,
of
you
a
run the risk of
shortage?
animals
When
getting
you
into
say
it.
it's not renewable, what we mean by that is that it
True.
escapes into outer space. So what we release, it goes up out through the atmosphere.
I remember
It
I
is
opened that door one
unreactive,
day and
meaning as an atom, it doesn't really
I think it was
pair with
Mars
other
was up
things,
on the
and so
top.
it floats out into outer space.
you
to be
knew
lost
already.
forever.
It's, Mars, get
Now,
down
we're
here.
making
He's
a
like
little bit of
grumpy and-
helium, an atom at a time.
Not what he
but
was
it's a very
after.
slow
I
process.
think he was after a
And
mouse.
so, are we in a shortage situation? So that's interesting because some of the people listening to the show might be aware that they weren't able to get helium for
There's
party
something funny
balloons at
CX
times.
did.
There have been 4 major supply
pet him.
shocks over the past 2
He started
decades.
purring. I pet him.
And
He
part
started
of this
purring.
is just because
He
we
looked at
used
me.
to have a
He
really
looked
big
at-
storage container
at,
in the ground, a big rock formation. And
Blackie
it was called
was
the US
next to
Strategic
him. And
Helium Reserve, and it was
Like,
recently privatized. It was sold
pet her.
off to a commercial
The
entity.
same way you pet me.
So what happens to that big container
I pet her
is
a little bit,
uncertain.
or
Its
pet him a
future is
little bit.
uncertain. So this has thrown the resource,
They lay down.
the supply of helium, its price, and all sorts of other things into a bit of chaos.
So what's the focus of your work when it comes to helium?
Well, yeah, so 2 things. One is I'm in an area related to lots of the quantum science and engineering things that you hear about that are coming out of the US government. Mine in particular involves looking at the interaction between electrons who have a property called spin and the surrounding nuclei. And it turns out that with lasers, I can point the electrons in one direction. We call it orientation. When we orient those electrons, it turns out they influence the atoms that are nearby. And when those atoms have another spin, a nuclear spin, then we can couple those 2 things
Well,
together.
this
It's
isn't
like
our
one
first
feels like the other
measurable
one is
snowfall,
doing.
but this is
Now
a
that's
good one.
only true when you cool down the matter to the coldest temperatures.
I don't think that last
In
snowfall
part
was really
because when you
snowing.
sort
It
of
was just
shake
sleet.
things and you allow vibrations, it ruins some of those effects. Let me give you an analogy.
Bunch of fucking pea balls
Picture
all
a
over the
spinning
ground.
top. You know those really beautiful ones that spin
This is like
and
big
spin
flakes.
forever? So if you start shaking the surface that spinning top
balls?
is moving on, you know that the
Like
spin is
hail,
going to go
little hail
crazy.
balls.
The top is going to sort of, get chaotic in its motion and topple over. But it spins longer if it's on
Usually
a very
hail's
still
about the size of a
table.
pea.
So the helium is what gives
Like
us that stillness.
the Wanderlust
And so I
lady
can
Dixie
see
Mills.
that property of that
She tells
top
her,
that's spinning,
she
for
starts her
example, for a
story
longer
of
time,
when
or
Jessica
it does
told me
some
to
really interesting acrobatics.
quit my
that would be
job and
messed
go
up if I shook
you
the
know,
surface on which it was traveling.
hike the
So
Triple
that's
Crown.
one way to think about it.
And what is the practical
You know the story
application
about
of
3
that?
years, but
I mean, that's
Yeah,
fine
so
if you
people are
got
trying
funding,
to
but
do these
Well,
kinds of
she didn't have
interactions
funding. She
to
had
look
enough
at new
money
regimes
from
in
her
quantum
retirement
science. So
time.
sometimes you hear about quantum computing or the entanglement of different
That's what
energy
she did.
states. And so these are some exotic
well, I've heard a few
phenomena
stories
that
about
can
people
lead
that do
to new
crowdfunding
types
too.
of devices. You hear
Do,
about it
do what now?
in the areas
Does
of
crowdfunding.
encryption. There are new ways of sensing phenomena
Oh, because
that
the
we
Pay for their trip.
we are sort of
because
missing
there's
today. So if we created
scenery and everything,
sensors that are
and they're
sensitive to these
narrating.
quantum effects, then we
Well,
might
no,
have
they do the
entirely
crowdfunding
new
before they ever
detectors.
go on the
And so
trip.
this is an area that a lot of
They go
physicists,
get
a handful of
GoFundMe
chemists,
account
and
or
a lot of
something.
engineers are exploring to look at these new applications.
Now, I understand your
That'd be hard to do
research
with the
also,
cats. You'd lose them.
looks at carbon capture, which is seen as a way to combat climate change. Is that connected to the study
You'd have
of
to have at
helium,
least a
or
motor
is the
something, or
storage of
motor
carbon
home or something to
similar
do
to
it.
the way that we store helium?
Oh yeah,
That
so
takes
it's
the fun out of it,
it's
but-
taking
So that
the,
kinda
let's
defeats
say,
the whole
the
purpose.
less
Huh?
exotic physics
that kinda
route
defeats the whole
and
purpose
using
for-
Yeah, I
those
know. Like I said, it takes all
MRI-like
the fun out of it.
instruments that are cooled by liquid helium, using those high magnetic fields in order to interrogate.
I don't think it would
what's
necessarily take
happening
the
in
fun
carbon
out of it,
capture.
but
So
it would
carbon
take a lot of the
capture is where you
experience
take
of it.
CO2 sometimes out of the air or sometimes
Yeah, you're
out
not
of a
walking
fluid
through the trees and
stack,
trails and
you know, in
everything.
a
You just
power
got the
plant.
car
What
up
you
there.
want is you want to
Well,
have
you're
that
not
CO2
looking
molecule,
for places
carbon
to camp.
dioxide,
I don't know where to
stick
set your
inside.
tent up.
It turns out that's a little bit hard to do because
Roughing
it's a
it.
very stable molecule. So we have to work pretty hard to
That
get
and
the
you
chemistry
know,
right.
there's
to
a lot
get
of it's
it
not
to stick,
accessible through.
and then
Yeah, we
maybe
could
release it
do
later when
both.
we want to squeeze it out, or maybe it'll become something else. CO2
Going in there and
converted either into
tell you
bicarbonate, something
out
you
of
can put
some of
in
it.
baking soda, sodium bicarbonate.
You're buying
or
antifreeze,
even
so
all the way
anti
to
won't
the
freeze.
end of the line, which is a carbonate, which is
They both just
sort of the
thought that
material
was
of
funny.
coral or chalk. Calcium carbonate is one example. So we want CO2 to go along that pathway, and so the materials that can do that sometimes need a way to look and interrogate what the reaction is.
Yeah, you got a
So
full
a
tank of
great way to
gas
do
and
that is through this
antifreeze and
direction that we
fresh
take
oil and-
using spectroscopy, using magnetic resonance to figure out
change
what
oil
the structures are that are associated.
The
And
oil really needs to be
in
changed
part,
in this.
why my technique of magnetic
We could
resonance
take
is
it to
ideal
Marsh.
is it doesn't need to be crystalline. It can look
Place
at
it and have
mixtures
change
of
it.
solids and liquids and gases, and all of that is enabled by having helium to make that cold material that lets
Let's
us
just
have
check
high
the engine
magnetic
light
fields,
still
and
on.
that's the basis for these
Because the
interrogations.
oil's low.
Do you see carbon capture as a
Because the oil's still
really
low. I
important
don't know.
part of the puzzle in terms of solving climate
Yeah,
change
something
or
to do with the
dealing
tire
with the effects
monitor
of climate change?
I
malfunctioning too.
personally do, yes, and I
Yeah,
think
because I've
many of
never
my
seen it
colleagues
go
would
off and it
agree.
doesn't do
You
anything.
know,
It just
we
is.
want to get
It was
to
off
a
once in a
time
while.
and a place where
Well,
we
it
have
does.
alternate sources of energy, but there's a high
yeah, well,
concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere.
This
We have
motor,
ways
this
to do
motor
what's
just
called
sitting here.
direct air capture,
Sounds like
to
it's
remove
purring
it
like a
from the
kid.
air and then reduce that high concentration.
beautiful.
Then we would have hopefully less of a greenhouse gas effect. So these technologies already exist today. It's just that they're
I don't know, it runs a
slightly
little rough
expensive.
occasionally.
And because there isn't a general,
I don't see it.
I would say a lot of political will
How
to
thick
do
the
this yet,
snow is.
there hasn't been a lot of buy-in. But those technologies do exist, and many scientists and engineers are working on this worldwide. And so I think that it's just a matter of time. And what these technologies enable us to do is clean up the atmosphere that we have. It also says
I don't know how they
it's
turn
hard
on the
to
heat
get
in the
away from combustion
shed.
of
Otherwise they do it for you.
hydrocarbons as an energy source. We're kind of, we're adhering to it in the transportation sector. We might find alternatives with batteries and so on, but ultimately there is this need, and it's even a need in industries like the cement industry, for example, is very energy intensive. The manufacturing of steel is energy intensive. So we will always have a need for that kind of cleanup. And so it's just a
Okay, I'm gonna go inside.
scrubbing, a filtering type of thing that, is an enabling technology.
I have to say, I have a heat pump now, and it